Yo guys, what is going on? Blossom's back. What was that? Usually I like to do like a side piece, but this time I was so lazy, I was like, yo guys, what's going on? Blossom's back, and welcome back to another episode of Top Drives and another episode of Garage Review. Now, I do have a really special garage to review today because this is actually Bogdan's garage. He's one of my newest patrons, but what makes it so special is that this garage actually reminds me of my own garage when I first started playing the game, and you'll see why in a bit. There are a lot of trends here that he's following right now, or there's a path that he's on right now of his garage that my garage used to be on as well. And obviously this garage review is going to help him, you know, get off that path. Like, honestly, for me, I need to get off that path too. I mean, I did like 2 years ago basically, but anyway, I digress. I don't know why, but all this wrong path, right path thing sounds like a drug addiction, but it isn't, I swear. But yeah, anyway, Bogdan's garage review. Here are the stats. So here are his favorite brands, okay? Sounds familiar? Dodge, Aston Martin, Lotus. Literally, my top three are Dodge, Aston Martin, and Porsche. It almost couldn't get any closer. His favorite country is obviously the US, and then for Yellowbird, he's done France and the UK. He's only played actively for about a year, so this garage is about a year old. Although he's had it for 2 years, he's only played it actively for a year, and his weakness are the low-end cars, and we're gonna see exactly why. So let's get into it. Now, I don't want to sound redundant. As always, for every garage review, check out the Blossom Choice cars. You should have them, and you should have them collected. Those cars are absolutely amazing. That being said, that's usually what I like to say at the start of all garage reviews, so I don't sound too redundant, you know, telling you to collect the same cars over and over and over every episode. So usually I'll be like, okay, here are all the Blossom choices. You already know where they are. It's on my website. It's also on my Discord channel, so you can check them. And then I will start nitpicking on the other things that aren't Blossom choices, but are also really good cars. So here we go. For the comments, you saw the collection, and the cars that I recommended are the RQ10 Ford EXP, RQ13 Chrysler LeBaron, RQ14 Volkswagen Jetta, and the RQ15 Plymouth Reliant. As you can tell, most of the cars, well, all of the cars that I recommended are lower RQ. This is a common, I wouldn't say problem, but this is just a common thing that happens with a lot of garages, especially when it comes to lower ranks. People like to neglect the low RQ, you know, like the low RQ of a tier. So when it comes to rares, you might have like 10 RQ39s, but like 2 RQ31s. You know what I mean? It's the same thing here. A lot of RQ19s, not a lot of RQ10s, alright? I'm not counting those prize cars like the Austins or the Volkswagens or the Alfa Romeos, because that's like, it's mandatory to have them, right? So like if we took away all those prize cars, you know, I'm kind of looking at what you have left. So a lot of cars I recommended were just lower end common cars and a lot of standard tire cars. One thing that I found out that was pretty weak in this garage for the commons was that there were a lot of performance tire cars. When we started out, we saw the Trans Am, we saw the Grand Tura, we saw the GMC Caballero, all performance tire cars, right? That's always good, but it's always nice to, you know, be well versed on all kind of, you know, tires. So when it comes to commons, it's really just standard and performance, because there aren't a lot of slicks. There aren't any slicks, and I think there's one off-road, which is the Mahari, but the Mahari isn't even that good anyway. Anyway, let's move on to the uncommon collection. Now, when Bogdan told me, the owner of the garage told me that he had a weak low-end garage, I was honestly shocked when I saw his uncommon collection. The reason for that was because, as you can see, his uncommon collection is actually massive. You know what I mean? Like, he's got cars that I don't even have, like the Renault Velsatis or whatever, and the Chevrolet Aveo and the Buick Verano. I don't have all these cars. He has 3 Rover 623s. You know, like, this is a massive collection. So I was like, wait, Bogdan, what do you mean? You told me that your low-end garage is weak, but I'm seeing all of this, and I'm just like, this ain't weak at all. But then you realize that literally almost everything here and everything that we've seen is stock. Literally all stock. There's like maybe like 10 max uncommons. Now, I want to say, after I reviewed this garage, I already sent it, because I reviewed it yesterday. I already wrote down the notes yesterday, but I'm recording it the day after, because yesterday I got sidetracked and I played Katana Zero all day, because my best friend gave it to me, and I was like, I gotta finish the game today. But yeah, all these notes, and one thing that he did tell me after I sent the owner, Bogdan, the notes, was that he's already maxed out a lot of cars since he sent me this video, which is only about 5 days old, actually. So he maxed out a lot of key cars, and he said that he also got a lot of new key cars like the Chevrolet Colorado, which he already maxed out as well. So that's always good. You are definitely, you know, knowing what your prioritizations are, and they're good. But still, I still have a lot of recommendations, but I just wanted to point that out because he was like, you know, it might be too late for me to say this, but it isn't too late. Because, you know, I got the point across in the video. But yeah, like I said, the uncommon collection is massive. You know, it's really big, but a lot of the cars are stock, and that's why you're weak. So I guess you're just looking for cars that I would recommend you to max out. If I were you, you know, just max out the Blossom choices, of course, like the Mazda Eunice. I'm surprised that you don't have a max Eunice. The Lancia Beta Coupe, which you already said that you have max actually, and the TVR Timar at RQ23. And then some other cars that I recommended outside of Blossom choice, because we got to keep it fresh. I recommend the RQ25 Volkswagen Polo GT, Rover 400, the Rover 263, the Honda Clarity, the Pontiac Grand Am, and the Cadillac Eldorado. Now these are all cars that you have. The Eldorado is right here. These are just all really great cars. Most of them being standard tires, of course, because I feel like that is a tire type that a lot of players neglect at the start of the game. Always max your standard tires as much as you max your performance tires, as much as you max your all surface, as much as you max your off-road. Actually, all surface, you can give it some slack. All surface kind of sucks, but like standard, off-road, performance, slicks, those are like the OGs. All surface tires, they get destroyed by off-road tires anyway, so yeah, you can ignore that one a little bit more. But some other cars that I would recommend that you do not have would be the Mazda RX-7, the Nissan Patrol, BMW 116, Mustang Boss, amazing Mustang Boss, the Peugeot 309, Volkswagen Jetta, and the Chevrolet Impala to boast your American collection. Obviously, you already have the notes, and I already told you how you should upgrade them. Anyway, moving on to rare. Now, this is what I believed is the most quirkiest feature of this garage. Usually, when I review people's garages, it's always the rares that is the strongest segment. I know that the last garage I reviewed was actually super rare that was the strongest segment. That being said, his rare collection was still pretty strong. This one, though, yikes! Alright, so let's look at this. At the time of this video being sent, I want you guys to count. Just look at this video. I want you guys to count how many maxed out rares are actually in here. Out of what looks to be maybe 50 to 60 rares. Might be more, might be less, but around that benchmark, okay? In this entire collection, which is actually a pretty small rare collection compared to others that I've seen, there are only, and I counted, there might be a little more in this video, but I counted 6. There were 6 maxed rares in this entire garage. Not even the Lotus Elise 1.6 is touched, which is incredible in a bad sense, incredible in a shocking sense. But yeah, I already said in my notes, start by maxing out these. These are the cars that I would max out first. The Plymouth GTX, so let's try and go back and see if we can go back to the start. So the Plymouth GTX, the Caterham 7, as well as the BMW Z4 S-Drive, the BMW i3S, which is the best medium ground clearance wet car for rare, the Vauxhall Chevette HSR, which is the best city streets, vanilla city streets car, that's what I mean, and of course the RQ39 Lotus Elise 1.6. That has to be max. I use that car on the daily. At the same time, start collecting. These are the cars that you don't have. I would say it's actually pretty surprising. This is one of the few garages I've reviewed where there isn't a Ford Escort Rally spec. He has the RQ38, but the white one. He doesn't have the white one, the RQ39 one. So that's actually pretty interesting. He also doesn't have a Mazda MX-5, the RQ39 MX-5, the one with standard tires that gets 87 handling. That's a really good car too that you should try and get. Anyway, moving on to super rares, and like I said, just like the rares, it's a very small collection. Very, very barren, not a lot of maxed out cars, but the good thing to see from this is that at least you know what the best cars are. It's not like you're maxing out a bunch of random bullcrap. Now, I know I max out a bunch of random bullcrap all the time, but that is because I've already maxed all the key cars that I have. You know what I mean? So I kind of have that luxury to just max out whatever because I've already maxed out kind of like the cars that you need to max out. But it's nice to see that you're going on the right path because you have cars like the Datsun and the Opel GT and the Pescarolo all maxed. I would recommend collecting as many Pescarolos as you can get and maxing out as many of those as you can get because obviously that thing should go ultra rare. So that's going to be a great investment. But yeah, usually for super rares, I've already given you, you know, my recommendations. Cars like the ELR, the XT, and the Renault Sport Clio are cars you should max. And for ceramic packs that you should open, I would recommend American Premium for your case because you want to specialize in Dodge, you want to specialize in American brands, so American Premium is the way to go, honestly. I would do the same, and then some American cars that you don't have, which I would really recommend, that you can easily get from American Premiums, easily in quotation marks, but, you know, easier than an Ultra and an Epic, which I never recommend. I never recommend Ultra Rares and Epics to get in garage reviews because that's going too far, you know. Like, this is like based off drop rates. Now I can always say get a wide body to myself, but I'll have to wait 2 years nonetheless, even though I've been trying to for 2 years, you know what I mean. But cars that I recommend you to get for super rares would be the Charger RT, RQ48, the Ford Flex, of course, bless the Flex, Acura RSX, and the Ford Bronco V8 351 Windsor. So moving on to the Ultra Rares now. Now this is where it gets really small. The collection here is really, really small. This is where you can see that this is a very, very young garage. It does have a lot of slots. And most of them being in uncommons, to be honest. That was a massive uncommon collection. But here's the pretty interesting thing. For the first time ever on Blossom Garage Review, and I have to give this a quirkiness level of 10. Usually when it comes to Ultra Rares, I select cars that I give the owners a list of Ultras that they should fuse and Ultras that they should max. In terms of Ultras that they should max, I recommend that the AMG G63, which is already on its way, and the Miura SV, both drag spec. But for the first time ever on Blossom Garage Review, 0 cars are going to be recommended to be fused away. Not a single Ultra in here is dispensable. Every single Ultra you have is, well, I'll just give it this way. Blossom Choice is a 10. Every single Ultra you have here is at least a 6 and above. It's incredible. Not a single car I would fuse. The XJ 5.0 is amazing. The Ford Escort Rally Spec, you have one max, but I would keep 2. You know, the Lancer Evo 4, I mean, all of these are max, so why would I say get rid of them? You know, the S63, amazing car, amazing MRA, low 0 to 60, medium ground clearance, you know what I mean? Like, it's incredible. This is the first time ever I have never said to fuse an Ultra. It's crazy. It's mad. 2021, going to new things, going to new heights, I guess. But that's a very nice Ultra Rare collection. Like I said, I can't say go get this, go get that. That's so far off based on chance. But I like what you're doing, alright? Maxed or nothing, I love what I'm seeing. Moving on to the Epic collection now, starting off with 69. No 66, no 67s, no 68s. Just starting off with 69 straight out the bat. And as you can see, this is where it really shows that this is a pretty young garage because the collection is pretty small. That being said though, look at the amount of maxed Epic he has, okay? He has more maxed Epics than he does max rares. That is going to be the title of this video, 100%. But that's crazy. And these are good Epics too. C12, SLS Roadster, Evo 9, MRFQ360, Charger SRT Hellcat, Supralight. These are some really decent cars. That being said, you only have one RQ79. But I'm sure you'll get more and more and more. I mean, that was insane. You genuinely have more max epics than you do rare, and that's crazy. And then and of course you have the max RS6 as well. And then of course we have the legendary collection. And as you can see, this is where we see the passion for Dodge, right? We got the Demon. And we got the ACR. Demon is close to being maxed. ACR is also close to being maxed. I think your Demon is only... In your books, you might consider Demon max already, but I think you're only one fuse away in handling, isn't it? Because my max Demon, I believe, is 212-1988, or is it 215-1988? Something like that. Something like that. ACR is close as well. I can see that the handling is already maxed out. You just gotta get that 3.1 down to a 2.9, and your ACR will be done. And max out Pagani Huayra. That's a pretty interesting one. Let me know what was the story behind the Huayra, because it seemed in your questions that I asked you that you didn't really have a love for Italian cars, so that's a pretty interesting one. Maxed out Comfort, Apollo, and Rage. That's mad. Yeah, we got, how many max legends do you have? One, two, I think you have three. Yeah, I think you have three, but you finished the Demon, and if you finish the Chiron, and if you finish the ACR, you would have as many maxed legendaries as I do, which is insane. But yeah, that is the garage. So at the start of the garage review, I said that this was very similar to my garage when I first started playing the game. Why I said that is because when I first started playing top drives, I too did not care about the lower rarities. You guys might remember that. My uncommon, and do forgive the outside noise, I think there's construction going on, but I too neglected the lower ranks. I didn't care for them, and shout out to Hudge because they did a good job with making the lower ranks relevant again, bringing in things like the championships and the Austin challenges, which required you to use lower RQ cars and lower RQ rarities, and of course clubs, which is the main reason why I have so many max out crap now. But you know, if it wasn't for those features, I think my garage would have just followed the same route of just only caring about the top end and neglecting the lower end. So I see a trend in this one as well. It's a lot of the same, but of course, you know, once we progress in the game, your garage will obviously get stronger and stronger and stronger. The good news is you kind of have the hard part out of the way. The hard part out of the way, as in maxing out the big boys, the epics and legendaries. But I have to admit though, although it's harder in a sense because it's more expensive and you need more expensive fuse material, I genuinely think that maxing out lower end is harder because it's so grindy. You know, everything is so fast paced. You actually need to make a lot of cash to max out a lot of low end cars, especially if you do them in bulk. It might be even more expensive than maxing out one epic. So with that in mind, you have, you know, a pretty grindy part, but you know, in terms of, you know, getting resources, it's easy. But like I said, man, it's a great garage, super quirky. I need to bring back the Blossom points because this would be like 10 on the Blossom point quirk scale. It's amazing. I love it. I love how they're more epics max than rare. I love how you know, there's just so many maxed out ultras and epics, and I love the fact that there was not a single ultra I would say to fuse away. But that's my question for you guys watching today. Look at his ultra collection and let me know if there were any ultras, if you were in his position, that you would fuse, because personally I wouldn't fuse any of them. Anyway, that is all for today's garage review. Bogdan, thank you for sending in your garage. I greatly appreciate it. Looking really good, and I love to see, and I would love to see where it would progress in the future. But anyway, hope you guys have a great day. Remember to stay safe, wash your hands, and blossom out. Peace.